If you're watching this video, chances are you have an aggressive rooster that might be on your homestead, on your farm, in your backyard flock. You've got a mean rooster somewhere and you're trying to decide what to do with them. Well, I'm here to tell you, you need to get rid of that rooster. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you actually a very, very heartbreaking, very serious story from my own family. And I think it's really important that this story is shared because it's something that needs to be taken a lot more seriously. I know it sounds kind of funny saying like rooster danger, but it's a really serious thing that people, especially that have smaller flocks or homestead flocks or backyard flocks and are kind of new to chickens, should be aware of. The whole reason why this video came about is I have seen in quite a few places and sort of homestead groups and just different places like that where people are talking about, hey, I've got this rooster who's kind of aggressive. What can we do to kind of break him of that habit, etc. And most people will say, and I agree, that the rooster should be put in a pot. Very much. If you see in the movie Cold Mountain, Renee Zellweger's character gets there. Nicole Kidman's character is being terrorized by this rooster, and the first thing Renee Zellweger's character does is like grab the rooster and break its neck. That is me. I'm a Renee Zellweger when it comes to roosters, that there just isn't space for aggressive roosters, period. And the reason why, so again, I've seen this kind of around a lot, and then in a mom group I'm in, and this is no judgment on this mom whatsoever, they have a backyard flock, and they had not a rooster, but they had a hen that pecked her toddler in the eye, and she was sharing a picture of her toddler and asking what we thought. They were going to the doctor, but she wanted our opinion. Heaven knows why, just, how we thought the eye looked, what we thought the prognosis was going to be. And it was a minor injury, it looked like to me, but I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to comment on that. However, I am a farmer, and so I did hop in and say, look, I'm not going to say anything about, the eye. I'm glad you're going to the doctor. I think that's good. But in terms of the chicken, you need to get rid of that chicken. They shouldn't be around your children. And she said back, oh, but we just love her. She's such a sweet hen and we've had her for forever and she's a really good layer and she's really sweet. I honestly think she was just really curious. And I didn't mean to be a jerk, and I was trying to be polite but firm. And I said, yes, maybe that was the case. But if your chicken gets curious again, your child could lose their eyesight in their eyes. It's not worth it. If she's a good chicken, find a different home for her. There'll be people who'd be happy to take a nice laying hen where she's not going to be in close proximity to your toddler. And then, I wasn't trying to bully her. I was just very straightforward. And then I don't know what other feedback she got from people, but she deleted the post. So I have no idea what happened to the chicken. I have no idea what happened to his eye. But this was a hen, not even a rooster. But it's such a serious thing. I consider chickens on our farm, to me, are the scariest animal because our chickens, they free range, and we do that on purpose, partly because I don't want to deal with cleaning out a big pen or building a big pen. And second of all, most importantly, they are hugely important in helping to scatter manure in our fields. When there was a bird flu scare in the area a couple years ago, we had to keep them cooped up, literally. And the amount that the poop piled up out there was insane. So they have a really important role to play on a farm as part of the farm and scattering manure and helping fertilize the grass and keeping down parasites, all kinds of stuff. So they're important that we have them out and about. And the other animals don't make me nervous, but the chickens, especially the roosters, do. And so I'm going to tell you now the family story that happened to my mother, and I have her full permission to share this because she's very much of the opinion that as many people as she can help by sharing her story, the better. So my mother, when she was 18 months old, she was with my grandma, her mom, out at one of their farmyards that they had when they had chickens out there. And it was winter, and there was a rooster out there who was aggressive. My grandmother knew this rooster was aggressive. She had been told by their hired man, like, that rooster has got to go. He is no good. And they just hadn't gotten around to it, busy farm family, whatever. And no judgment on my grandma, but they were out there. And again, mom's 18 months old, and my grandma got distracted for just a second, and that rooster knocked my mom down, and it was able to completely destroy one of her eyes. And it's horrifying, especially as a mom of young kids. I have a 2-year-old. I have 2, 4, and 6 are our kids. And roosters get big. My 2-year-old, our bigger roosters can look him right in the eye, and it would take nothing for a big rooster to knock him down. And that's what happened to my mom. And she, thankfully, the only reason why she wasn't completely blinded by this rooster is because it was winter, so she had on a little stocking cap, and then she had her hood up over that. And as this rooster was attacking her, she was, of course, trying to get away, and so her hat dipped down and covered her other eye and protected it. So again, it happened. I mean, if you think about how quickly that can happen, if a rooster comes up, knocks a kid down, jumps on them, goes for their eyes, it's less than 5 seconds that you as a parent or you as a caretaker have to be distracted for a rooster or a hen, though it's much less likely. We'll talk about hens more in a minute, for a rooster to do that. And as far as I'm concerned, there is no animal, certainly not a chicken, there is no animal in this world that is worth keeping over the safety, the eyesight of your children or someone else's children. And so not only is my mom, she has no vision in her right eye, the eye itself, the structure was destroyed enough that it doesn't look like a normal eye. So she had to get, for years, because this happened in the 60s, for years, she had like an eye patch thing, and she had glasses, and she just, because they didn't really have the, what she needed. And of course, technology is a lot better these days and things advanced, and I'm sure affordability was a factor, that she has a prosthetic now. It's not like a full prosthetic eyeball or anything, but it is kind of almost like a cap that's a prosthetic that's got the pupil and the iris and all those things that she wears. And unless you know about it, you wouldn't really notice it to look at her, but it still is a huge pain. So in addition to not being able to see out of one entire eye, it's something that needs care. And my folks live rurally. The closest place for them is like 2.5 hours away, that a couple times a year she has to go to a specialist in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul, and go and take her eye out and have them clean it and stuff. Otherwise she can get infections and things because it needs to be like taken care of and polished up and stuff like that. So it's crazy. So she has this lifelong thing, aside from losing her vision, almost being completely blinded, she also now has to take care of this thing for her entire life. It totally sucks. So that being said, aggressive roosters are not worth keeping on your farm. I don't care if he's beautiful. I don't care if you hatched him as a chick. If he's aggressive, you do not want that to continue in your bloodlines. For one, is incredibly important. Our chickens go and hatch chicks sneakily all the time. We always end up with a flush of roosters. If any of them show aggression, they're done that day. I do not tolerate them, and you really should not either. I have extra roosters right now in my chicken coop. You can come here, I will give you one. Roosters are a dime a dozen, and keeping a rooster that could hurt somebody, really, it is not worth it. And I know it's different when you have kind of like a backyard situation. You have a different relationship with your chickens and you have just a few, versus our chickens they live their own lives. We give them food, shelter, medical care when they need it, but for the most part they're doing their own thing. Only a couple of them I think even have names, and we have I think 30 chickens. And so I know it can be hard. You can see them almost as a pet, but again, if you had a dog that was aggressive, you wouldn't keep them, and you shouldn't keep a rooster who's aggressive, because those spurs and that beak can clearly, as I've told you, do very, very serious damage. Now, on the flip side, hens, like the very first story I was telling you, hens get a little bit more of a free pass. If you have a hen that's like charging at you constantly for no reason or coming after your kids, then get rid of that hen too. No chicken's worth it. Hens, it's totally normal, I think. Some hens might be pecky if you reach into a nest box. Well, because that's where their eggs are literally it's their children. And you're reaching into their private nest box space. I don't have a problem with that. If they consistently fly out at you every single time, or are flying out at your kids every single time, maybe rehome that hen to somebody who that doesn't bother. Another time that hens might be doing this that you might see is when they have hatched eggs recently. I've got some of my hens, usually they get over it in a couple days, but the first few days they will puff up like a turkey. They have chased the dogs across the property. They are fearsome, but that's because they have brand new little babies. But if you have an aggressive hen, I have never had a hen that's been aggressive. We've had a couple aggressive roosters that have been gotten rid of. One was horrible. He used to chase you around the pasture, and I just had not gotten around to it. You used to have to carry a stick with you to keep him away. He was terrible. Screech was his name. And then my husband, he had a rooster he really liked called Crinkle, and he was fine for years, and then all of a sudden he just got super duper aggressive. And so he too, I gave him, it was one morning he got kind of pushy with me. I thought, well, that's kind of odd. And then he was pushy, really aggressive with me again, and that was it. I went and bought a brand new pair of loppers that day at Fleet Farm, and he was done that night. There's no reason to tolerate them. One other consideration you should make too is you might be saying, well, we don't really have little kids at our farm, our homestead, at our place. But if you don't have kids, do you have nieces and nephews? Do you have neighbor kids? Do you have people that visit? I honestly think that they are almost more at risk when it comes to this sort of a thing versus actual kind of farm kids, because the farm kids kind of know a little bit more about what to watch for and how to be aware versus kids who are just clueless and just think it's a fun chicken or might try and chase them or whatever else the case is. So even if it's not, you're not like a high risk situation, it's still an unnecessary risk in my opinion. So I apologize, this is kind of like a soapbox video, but it's just one of those things where I am always very shocked at how much people will tolerate from a chicken because they think, oh, it's a chicken, but chickens can really do a lot of damage. Now, if you want some more good chicken resources, I'll link some of my favorite videos here, some of my more popular ones about hatching eggs and things like that, because I have a lot of experience with chickens. And again, get rid of your aggressive rooster. Drop me a message if you're local. You can take some of mine. They are all gentlemen with people, and they are gentlemen with hens as well. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you here next week for more from our rough and tumble farmhouse.